the water shortage. One resident discovered that the Department of Water and Power has no idea how much water she's been using. She called our troubleshooter, Jed McElvain, to complain that she has made tremendous efforts to cut water consumption, but has no way of knowing if it's made any difference. Jed, this is perplexing.
Yes.
Right, the water company had no idea she was saving water. She's the perfect customer, by the way. Barbara Edelman has made her home an example of water conservation technique.
On whether they should be independent democracies.
Moscow condemns independent votes as illegal and dismissed the Lithuanian results as mere opinion survey.
Neither snow nor threats nor the presence of Soviet troops prevented Lithuanian voters from trekking to the
mission. Here's a look.
Those little arrows are just to tell the pilot that he has to align the missiles with the targets. 9.2 kilometers. T means fire, there is missile launch, and in the top of the screen we've got the time of flight, and that's in seconds. And 0 will be the probably the bingo in this one too. So those missiles are fired from about 10 kilometers. The pilot usually try to launch a missile a little bit earlier than that, like between 12 to 13 kilometers, and then they start right away the escape maneuvers.
Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Shamir says he wishes Israel could take part in the war and help destroy Saddam Hussein. Shamir told a group of French Jews that Saddam Hussein wants to kill Jews and destroy Israel. CNN Brenda Scherzer reports from Jerusalem that for many Israelis, liberating Kuwait isn't enough.
News of the impending ground war is being received in Israel with caution of course. There are real concerns that an escalation of war in the Gulf will provoke even more deadly Iraqi attacks against Israel, possibly with chemical weapons. But practically everyone in Israel says that the U.S. must do what it takes to defeat Saddam Hussein decisively.
We would shed no tears if somebody were to give him what we would call a one-gun salute, not a one-gun salute.
We've known that Saddam is dangerous since we battled in the Navy war. And if Saddam is the survivor, I don't know what's going to happen. Israel's government, including its prime minister, feels sure that a post-war Iraq with Saddam Hussein will pose a permanent threat to Israel and the rest of the Middle East.
I personally hope it's very simple. I hope that he will be killed. If he comes out of this episode, of this tragic adventure, with the perception in the Arab world or in Iraq that he has won, then we are not going to see a day of peace in the Middle East afterwards.
But what if the ground war starts, pushing Saddam Hussein into an increasingly desperate position? Military leaders believe the odds will go up that Iraq will strike Israel with chemical weapons, which they acknowledge he may be able to do.
I'm not afraid, yes, because I don't think he has now the power to harm us. If the Israeli population and the cities of Israel are prepared for the missile attack with the wings and the masks, so I don't think it would be such a catastrophe.
There are other fears, however, that a ground war and mounting Iraqi casualties would escalate the anti-Israel sentiment in neighboring Jordan. And there's a slim chance, say analysts, that backed into a corner, Saddam Hussein would send an army division into Jordan to draw Israel into the war.
The Israeli defense minister has made a very, very clear policy makers in this country over time that the rejection of significant ground forces, Iraqi ground forces into Jordan constitutes the casus belli.
Israeli forces have been on a heightened state of alert on the Jordanian border since Iraq invaded Kuwait 6.5 months ago. In spite of real worries that a ground war could provoke Iraqi troops into entering Jordan, or even worse, into provoking a possible chemical attack, most Israelis believe that the U.S. will have to escalate this war in order to end it. Linda Scherzer, CNN, Jerusalem. Israel has refused to accept Danish gas masks for Palestinians. An official of Denmark's foreign ministry says the Israeli embassy in Copenhagen turned down some 25,000 gas masks offered to Palestinians in the Israeli-occupied territories. The Danish news agency says the Israelis rejected the offer on the grounds that the masks do not conform with Israeli standards. But a chemical specialist in Copenhagen Civil Defense says he is stupefied by the Israeli refusal. He says the masks are old but meet Danish protection standards.
And when our coverage continues, we'll take a look at some of the other stories making news today.
Your mission.
Now Flip Spicestrom joins us to give us a glimpse of the weather in the Middle East and the United States. Flip?
First of all, the Mideast, and let's do the geography. This is
efforts, initially using hostages illegally ferried to strategic locations, then exhibiting captured pilots severely brutalized, engaging in environmental terrorism, and firing Scud missiles at innocent civilians. And now, true to form, you can ask a Kurd, the murderous, bloodthirsty butcher of Baghdad has even shown himself capable of setting up his own citizens for sacrifice in hardened so-called military shelters purely to reap propaganda victories. That's from George Wessel in British Columbia.
this letter from a viewer in Jefferson City, Missouri. We are at war. I deplore even the thought of war, but if you're going to make such a terrible commitment, then you better commit to use everything at your disposal to win as rapidly as possible while limiting your casualties to the absolute minimum. Tragically, innocent people always get involved. If Saddam had ICBMs capable of reaching the United States, does anyone think he wouldn't use them and that there wouldn't be innocent civilians injured and killed?
If you'd like to write to CNN, you can address your...
Last night, an F-16 crashed over enemy-held territory. It's a combat loss. The pilot was recovered and is in good health. I think this is due to the superb efforts of our Joint Combat Search and Rescue units, who actually conducted the extraction of the pilot 40 miles into enemy territory.
And in Iraq, word of growing discontent with Saddam Hussein. Refugees who just fled the country say that about 5,000 people held a demonstration against Hussein 8 days ago. According to refugees, protesters in the city of Diwaniyah shot and killed 10 government officials when they tried to stop the rally. This is the first known demonstration against the Iraqi dictator since the invasion of Kuwait on August the 2nd. Jen?
In Israel, many people are concerned that a ground war with Iraq will provoke more attacks against Israel, possibly chemical attacks. Most Israelis agree that the United States must do everything possible to defeat Saddam Hussein. They fear a post-war Iraq with Hussein still in power would pose a permanent threat to Israel and the entire Middle East.
The best I hope is very simple. I hope that he will be killed. If he comes out of this episode, of this tragic adventure, with the perception in the Arab world or in Iraq that he has won, then we are not going to see a day of peace in the Middle East afterwards.
Israeli government officials also feel that a ground war could escalate anti-Israeli sentiment in neighboring Jordan. Israeli forces have been on high alert along the Jordanian border since U.S. troops were first sent to the Persian Gulf. Locally, a delegation of Jewish leaders returned to Los Angeles today from a week-long visit to Israel. Included in the group were Los Angeles City Councilman Zev Yaroslavsky and District Attorney Ira Reiner. The delegation wanted to show support for the Jewish people who are suffering both emotionally and economically during the Gulf War. It was pointed out, however, that the Israelis are determined not to let the Israeli attacks destroy their morale.
They have decided that they are going to clean up and reconstruct immediately, if not sooner, so that the signs of the destruction are not visible for the impact that it would have on the community, so there would not be this feeling of being under siege.
This is a country that, while it is not engaged in the Middle East Gulf War, is a victim of it in a very direct way. Hotels are empty, businesses are suffering. The economy, at the time they most need a healthy economy to absorb new immigrants, is suffering.
In addition to offering economic aid, Yaroslavsky also stressed that now is the time to travel to Israel to show the people that we are truly their friend and ally. In Sacramento today, thousands of Californians rallied in a flag-decked parade to the mall of the state capitol building. The event was a show of support for the men and women of Operation Desert Storm. An Army tank rumbled through the rally, dubbed Operation America by the police and firefighter groups that organized it. Some people carried pictures of loved ones in the Persian Gulf. On the steps of the Capitol, Governor Pete Wilson addressed the crowd, saying Saddam Hussein is a coward hiding behind the women and children of Iraq. Wilson said he hoped satellite TV coverage of the rally would send a clear message to the Iraqi dictator that America is standing behind its armed forces.
In Baghdad, air raid sirens sounded as Allied aircraft continued bombardment of targets near the capital. Bombs fell on the outskirts of the city, but Iraqi officials told news reporters damage was light. Meanwhile, today, the mayor of Baghdad, Khalil Abdul Munim, said Allied air raids have left the city's residents susceptible to the threat of disease. The mayor said that bombs have destroyed the city's sewage disposal system, and most of the city's water purification plants are out of order. French military officers used this videotape to illustrate the precision of France's Jaguar fighter bombers and their pilots. French Air Force officials in Saudi Arabia showed reporters a series of direct hits on targets inside Iraq. The videotape was taken from the nose cone camera of a Jaguar jet.
Delta Oscar.
Are you using
The French Air Force has deployed 3 squadrons of jet aircraft to the Persian Gulf, including interceptors as well as fighter bombers. And next up tonight, a helicopter carrying a royal couple makes a forced landing. We'll have late word on that story for you. 2 bomb attacks hit busy railway stations and many casualties are reported. And a story that may be disturbing to some, very graphic video showing a state trooper who miraculously escaped serious injury when he stopped a motorist for drunk driving and was struck by a car. We'll be right back.
Here's an eye-opener from your Hyundai